John chapter 12 this morning. I won't go back. Lord, change us today as we open your word. John chapter 12. In 1976, a man was a part of a starting of a company. He was one of three co-founders. His name was Ronald Wade. He had the opportunity to sell his 10% stake in the company, at which point he did for $800. The company was Apple, and his 10% stake today would be somewhere in the realm of $63 billion that he sold for $800. We might think he didn't quite have the foresight ahead to see what was going to take place. That short-sightedness is something as believers we too often have as well. In fact, we make far worse investment decisions where the eternal can continue to reap benefits, and $63 billion seems like a drop in the bucket compared to eternity, and yet we in our short-sightedness sell what could be incredible fruit for eternity for just $800, for a moment of temporary happiness or pleasure. In John chapter 12, this is Jesus' last week. As Mark shared last week, he's had his triumphal entry. They've had a meal at Lazarus' house, and as John continues to talk about the last week, and much of what Jesus shares in John is going to be within the next chapters that follow, all in this last week. When the time is coming near, Jesus gets extremely serious and teaches some incredible truths, and today is one of them. And as we see faith continue to grow in John, we also see unbelief continue to grow. And the short-sightedness of temporary pleasure. And so today I want us to talk about how do we invest our life wisely. Every one of us will come to a place, barring Christ coming again, every one of us will come to a place where we will breathe our last. And a moment after we have passed, what will we have wished we would have invested in? And if we know that day is coming, why not prepare beforehand? And why not live in such a way beforehand? How do we turn our $800 into $63 billion in eternal rewards? We're going to look at four areas. First of all, you seek out where Jesus is working. We're going to look at a request that's made of Jesus, starting in verse 20. Now, among those who went up to worship at the feast, there were some Greeks. So these came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and asked him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew, and Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Now, the triumphal entry has happened. The people have said, "Lord, save us." They've cried out, and wherever this takes place, we don't know, but some Greek people, some foreigners come to seek out Jesus. And they say, "We want to see Jesus. We want to know where he is, and would he possibly take a little time for us?" Now, in this passage, that's where it stops. That's the end of the Greek people. But this is going to be a request that's going to reveal to Jesus, and Jesus is going to make a statement in just a minute. They turn to Philip. Why? Philip has a Greek name. Philip was from the Decapolis, just over the hill where a lot of Greek or Gentile people were. So they say, hey, they may have known him. They may be from there. We don't know. And they had come to Jerusalem to worship, which was not uncommon. And just on the cross, Simon the Cyrene will come and take the cross. Why? He is a foreigner that is worshiping at the temple during the Passover. So foreigners came, and they heard and they worshiped. They could be in the court of the Gentiles, the very outward court of the temple, but no further. They could not go into the place for women, the place for men, finally the holy place, the Holy of Holies. The court of the Gentiles was at the very end. So they had come to worship, and they had come to be part of the festival, and this Jesus had caught their attention. We don't know if they have believed on him. We don't know any of that. They just want to see him. They seek him out. How often do you seek out where Jesus is working. There's a famous Blackaby line that says, look where Jesus is working and join him there. Too oftentimes my temporary sight draws a circle on the floor and says, Jesus, work here. You come work here. Instead of saying, Jesus, where are you working? Where do I invest my life in? Where do I see it happening and taking place? A wise investor in eternity sees where God is working, and he moves his circle and doesn't demand of Jesus he work here, but he moves to where Jesus is working, and he invests his life to do so. So many of you are investing your life eternally into the work of Calvary Church, reaching people for Christ. I remember when I first came and we had fewer than we have now, and we would have a visitor, and I would sit down and share the vision of Calvary Church, and they would say, well, are you doing this or are you doing this? And I would say, no, not yet. We want to get there. We're not where we want to be. We're just beginning. And Calvary Church, by the way, happy 4th birthday. About a month ago, we're now 4 years old. We're in the toddler stage. I'd say not yet, but if you'll come alongside and work with us, look what can be achieved. Look eternally what we can do. And you know what? Some people said, no, we're going to go to a place that's already established and has everything. And praise God, go. But some of you said, wow, we can do this. We can invest in eternity, in New Prague, in a fresh way. And you've come alongside, and day after day and week after week, you serve and invest eternally in the kingdom. And by the way, folks, I believe what we do here every Sunday and every day of the week is more important than what happens in Washington, D.C. Your task and my task here this very day is more important than anything else, any other secular job, more than the most powerful man in the world or the richest man in the world, more important than Apple, more important than IBM, more important than the President of the United States. The task you and I have been given. Will you invest in eternity? They seek out Jesus, and Jesus says this. Look at verse 23, his response. And Jesus answered them. He's answering Andrew and Philip. We don't know where the Greeks went. We don't know if they come or not. The point is, it's not important. John, it's not about the Greeks coming. It's about what this reveals to Jesus. And now Jesus is going to share and teach. And he says this. The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Why? Jesus, they were saying, come, can we come see you? Why does when Jesus hear that Gentile people, that Greek people have come to seek him out, does he then say, the hour has come that you may be glorified? 5 times already in John, Jesus has said the hour has not yet come. Started at the miracle in Cana, the very first miracle. He tells his mother, my hour isn't here yet. And now he says, the hour's come. We're in the final week. What about them coming and seeking him out leads us to believe that? I think Leon Morris makes a great point in his commentary on John. Here's what it says. The fact that the Greeks had reached the point of wanting to meet Jesus showed that the time had come for him to die for the world. He no longer belongs to Judaism, which in any case has rejected him. But the world whose Savior he is awaits him and seeks for him. See, as the Jews are plotting to kill him, these Greeks come and seek him out, want to talk with him, want to hear him. And I believe John is pointing this dichotomy between the two. If anyone should recognize who Jesus is, it should be the Jewish people, and they're the ones wanting to get rid of him. But these Greeks are coming to the temple to worship, and they hear and see Jesus and want to talk with him. And when Jesus hears that these Greeks have come, it's a signal, it's a revelation to him that my hour has come. Why? Because he has come to die for the whole world. For the Greek, for the Jew, for the African, for the European, for us here today, and any man who has ever lived, not dependent on color of skin, not dependent on economic outcome or what you make, not dependent on your abilities. Jesus came to die. And through his death, God will glorify him. How is he going to be glorified? The hour has come that he be glorified. He's going to be glorified by laying down his life. That's not the way we view it, is it? And when he's made king and when he comes again, that's when he'll be glorified. But Jesus said the hour has come, the Son of Man is glorified. How is he going to be glorified? He's going to lay down his life. He's going to die. He's going to die so that we might receive life. And he's going to give us an illustration, and then Jesus is going to give us the application of what that means for us. Just like Jesus, the time had come that the Son of Man be glorified, we're called to spend our lives glorifying Jesus. The gospel sets us free from glorifying ourselves, from wanting only what we want, from living the way we want to live. The gospel says that God is holy, and we've blown it. We've chosen our own way. When we were supposed to worship him for the incredible God that he is, we said, forget it, God. I'm going to go do my own thing. And so God sent Jesus to die on the cross, to take the penalty and punishment for my sin upon himself, so that, as Micah said, if I might repent and believe, he would offer me eternal life. We can't live in the gospel and seek to glorify ourselves. The two are mutually exclusive. So we're called to glorify Jesus. Just like the Father is going to glorify Jesus because he laid down his life. And so now we also die. We die to ourselves and we die to our desires to glorify Christ. It's the picture of baptism. At the end of August, we're going to go out to Cedar Lake again. And we're going to have a baptism in public. There are going to be people there swimming. And we're going to declare to the world, hey, these folks have died to their sin. They have laid down their life and taken up Christ's life. If you've never been baptized but have trusted him, I encourage you, talk with me. Let's set that up. What a beautiful picture of what you did when you trusted Christ. And if you have never trusted Christ today, today is the day. Lay down your life, surrender your life, take his life on instead, and live for him. So how do we invest our life wisely? One, we seek out what Jesus is working. Two, we live our life for the glory of Christ. And then three, we die to bear as much fruit as possible. Look at verse 24. Jesus is going to give an illustration of what he's talking about. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Jesus uses this illustration of wheat to show what's going to happen to him. He can exchange the temporary for the eternal, and he's going to. But have you ever thought he could have exchanged the eternal for the temporary and chose not to go to the cross? He could have said, I'm feeling pretty good today. I think I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to choose not to get nailed to a cross, not to get beaten. I'm just going to excuse myself out of Jerusalem, go live a quiet life out on a hill somewhere, and just kind of stand around. And he would have traded in $63 billion for 800. But Jesus said the hour has come. The Son of Man's going to be glorified. I'm going to die. I'm going to lay down my life for you. And unless a kernel of wheat dies, then there is no food. As we drive along the roads of our town and see the farm and see the sprouts beginning to come up, the reason the sprouts are coming up is because the seed died so that more could come. And Jesus is declaring that about himself. He died in the ground for eternal glory. And before we get to the application he's going to share with us, don't miss, it begins with his example. We must see that Jesus has started with his own death. What he is going to ask of us is not something he has not already been willing and will do. The Greeks come. He says, now's the time. I'm going to lay down my life. I'm going to invest in eternity. And I'm a recipient. His decision is still gaining rewards. It's still drawing interest. I'm still a reason. I'm still an eternal investment that Jesus has made. I think the point of this illustration is this: the only way to bear eternal fruit is by dying. By laying down our lives for what Jesus would have. So when we talk about investment in the Christian life, just put investment equals dying. Placing Christ's glory before mine. Placing eternal values and rewards before my own temporary comforts or gains. You've heard the phrase, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. When people begin persecuting the church, the most amazing thing happens. People in the church start dying. And many people over time, and even today around the world, what if we came together not knowing next week if one of you were to be put to death, or if I were to be put to death? You would think that would put a damper on the church, but every time they do it, the church grows. Why? Dying equals investment. Literally, when believers die and their faith is strong and they don't even count their own lives as something to be gained apart from the glory of Christ, it is such a testimony to the world of what we believe. To literally lay down your life and the church grows. Eternal fruit takes place. You know how also the church grows? When believers die to self. Selfishness. Die to our own desires. When we lay those down, not counting them as worthy, and reject and come and glorify Christ. And he's more important than what society thinks of me. And he's more important than whether people laugh at me or not. And he's more important than whether I have time to go do all my hobbies. He becomes more. We die. Literally, we may be called to die and lay down our lives, but that's what Jesus did. We can do it. We can follow him. And we're called figuratively to die, laying down our wants and desires for him. We're never more like Christ than when we invest in the eternal by dying to our own desires. Today's Father's Day. And fathers and mothers have a good picture of what it means to die. Man, when I was single, I had so much time. I got to do stuff I wanted to do. Then I got married and I realized I was selfish. And then I had kids and I realized I was really selfish. And I had no other time. And my son, Don Edward, will come up and he'll say these words to me. Daddy, be a horsey. Son, what you want me to do is get down on all fours. You're going to climb on my back. And then I'm going to jump around and try to knock you off. That is not something I would choose to do. But we know what it means to die. So I get down on all fours. And he climbs on my back. What about when Jesus comes and says, Ben, be a horse? Oh, I don't want to. I'm going to choose not to. I've got dignity and self-respect. That hurts my knees. Will we lay down our life for Christ? Someday, the same way we lay down our life for our kids. Dads, You want this year to be meaningful? Invest in the eternal. Let your kids see that you care more about Christ than about stuff. And bring them with you. Best gift you can give your kids is to invest in their eternity and invest in others and bring them along with you. So die to bear as much fruit as possible. And last, pursue Christ for eternal investment and eternal rewards. Jesus turns it now on us, and he applies it. Whoever loves his life loses it. And whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. If anyone serves me, he must follow me. And where I am, there will my servant be also. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. Now, what's Jesus talking about here? He's talking about his death. If you follow Christ, it means you're following what he has done. If you claim to be a follower of Christ, then what he's saying is, if you're a follower of Christ, if you're a follower of me, I'm dying. What are you doing? That's how we do it. And guess what? If you love your life, you lose it. That's a bad investment. Don't lose your life. Don't waste your life. This summer, you've heard it from me several times in the Calvary Connection and the email. I've said, don't waste your summer. Don't take off for three months and just relax. Invest your summer in eternity. We've got Sandlot Summer. We've got Bible and Life. We've got the Body of Christ gathering. We're going to have the block party. We're going to have Energize. We are not taking the summer off. Join us. Don't waste your summer. Invest in eternity. And then he says, if you hate your life, and I believe that means in comparison to loving Christ. In other words, when people see how much you love Christ, then your life seems like you hate it. It just kind of gets neglectful. Oh, whatever, I'm just serving Christ. God will take care of my needs. If you love him, and you hate your life in comparison, did you notice God said he will honor him? Wow. Just in, like, the Father glorifies the Son, he's going to honor you. Hey, look down there. That's my servant. He's focused on the eternal. I honor him. You want to be honored by the Father? By the God of the universe? Does that just blow your mind? And you got to die to yourself. 5 temporary things that you can invest for eternal rewards. Let's look at 5 things that are temporary. We don't have forever. And you can choose to take them and take your $800 and go live your life, or you can choose to invest them into the future and receive rewards for eternity. Here's what they are. Number 1. These aren't all inclusive. There are other things. 5 things we're going to talk about. Invest your time. Do you realize time is temporary? And you know what's interesting about time? We each have the exact same amount. You have 24 hours in a day. I've learned, been working on a course, a leadership course, and Kerry Nywolf is the guy's name, and he makes the statement, and it was brilliant, so helpful to me. Stop saying you don't have time. Because each one of us have the same amount of time in a day. Start thinking, you might not want to say this, start thinking it's not a priority. Every one of us will dictate our time based upon priorities in our life. But we all have 24 hours. Now, I realize some people may live longer or shorter, but today, what are you going to do in investing your time? It's not a matter of whether I have time or not. It's a matter of where my priorities are, because we all have the same amount of time. So you can invest your time for eternity, or you can let it slip away. I think back in my own life to people who've invested their time in me. I think about Tim and Janice Atkins. They were like my kindergarten Bible and life teacher. Tim was a busy man. He was a successful man. He could have done many other things and said, I don't care, but he came every Sunday for me and our little group. And Janice, and they poured God's word into us and invested their time. Time I'm sure they didn't have. into my life. And you know what? That eternal investment is still going. You're a recipient of it today because those two chose to invest their time in something eternal. I think about Kevin Miller. He's my fifth and sixth grade teacher. He took a group of wild, rambunctious boys and somehow got us to learn things and grow. He owned a greenhouse. He only employed one other guy. He had no time. That man worked from morning to evening, and yet he cared enough about a fifth grade boy that he invested eternally in my life. And I am still incredibly thankful. And you're the recipients. And hopefully years from now, others from you will be the recipients. And you see, it just keeps growing. And that $800 of time can become $63 billion in eternal rewards. I think about Jody Fusen. She put on a kids' music camp that I went to. Had a profound impact on my life. Who invested in you? Who took time they didn't necessarily have and invested in you for eternity? Does a name pop up? I encourage you, just shoot them a thank you note this week. If they're still living, just say, I know you didn't have time, but you chose to invest in my life for eternity. I just want to tell you thank you. Who invested in you? And second, who are you investing in for eternity? Who in 20 years will go, man, so-and-so, they were so busy, but they invested their time for eternity. They went into the ground and died so that I might live, and I know Christ because of what they have done. Who are you investing in? Someday we will breathe our last, and we'll stand before Christ. Invest your time. Second, invest your talents and gifting. There are so many of you. I was thinking this week, all the jobs and tasks that all of you are doing for Calvary Church. Not just for Calvary Church, but for the glory of God. And watching and seeing that take place. From designing to teaching, bringing snacks, nursery, worship team. I just named them all. What God is using. Invest your talents in gifting for the glory of God so that people might see. Third, invest your family. You say, Ben, they're going to live for eternity. That's not temporary. What's temporary is the time you have together under your roof, moms and dads. When I think about my mom and dad and the investment they made, they laid down their life and died for me, but they laid down our family's life to die for the church. We served together. It was a group effort. Why? Because they loved eternity. They invested in eternity, so they used us and brought us along to learn and to see that they were caring more about eternity. An investment in eternity. Invest your family. Serve with your family together. Fourth, invest your finances. The treasure principle, Randy Alcorn, says it this way: you'll not take 1 cent with you, but you can send it on ahead. You can invest for eternity with your finances. I don't know about you, but today I'm going to give my tithes and offering check every month when I sit down to write it, to be a joyous giver for all that God has done. I cannot help but a selfish thought comes into my mind. Am I the only one? And says, boy, you could buy something nice. You could take your family on an overnight trip. You could save toward a vacation. They need it. You could use this for yourself. I'm just honest. That comes. And I say, no. No, I'm investing in eternity. I'm investing in the 5,000 missionaries that we stand with other churches to help support, who today are investing in eternity. I'm investing in eternity so that New Prague might hear of the glory of God and be transformed. So I invest my finances, a temporary possession. And last, invest your possessions. Use what God has given you for temporary enjoyment and transfer it into eternal blessings. If you have a house, God, how do you want me to use this temporary blessing for eternity? Maybe invite a neighbor over to hear the gospel, to invite them to church. Maybe invite a neighbor's kid over to play with your kids so you can invest in them. Are you using your possessions? This week we were at a backyard Bible club, and the last 2 weeks. And kids were hearing about Christ in a home, in a backyard. Why? We were using what God had given us. It's not a problem when God gives us wonderful, good things. Are you using it? Are you using what God has given? Invest your possessions, because they're just temporary. But you can turn them into eternal rewards. The heart check today. 3 questions I want you to answer honestly to yourself. Number 1, this past week, have you followed Christ or followed your own desires? If you were to say, Ben, this is what I invested into the kingdom, or wow, it was kind of an afterthought, I was completely consumed in my own things, what was going on, and I'm here today, and I'm just here. Have you invested in the kingdom in your workplace, in your job? When you've been out and about, have you used your stuff? Have you used your finances? Have you used your family? Second, what areas of your life are you refusing to surrender to Jesus? No death, no fruit. I'll say it again. No death to my own desires, no eternal fruit. You can use everything you have for now. Or you can invest it. God yourself. And the last thing, which of these 5 areas is Jesus asking you to invest for eternity? Hopefully, all 5. If you were to leave here today, this week, this area of the 5, I'm going to invest. I'm going to take some time to invest in a neighbor or a friend or a co-worker for eternity and share them the gospel. You know what? I need to use my gifts and talent to further the body of Christ in New Prague. I'm going to see what needs they have. And I'm going to start working and using those gifts. My family, we're going to come alongside and do it together. I'm going to invest in them. My finances, I'm going to start tithing and giving an offering of what God has given me and investing it in the future. Or my possessions. Which one has Jesus revealed to you this morning you need to start doing? May you be obedient to Him. Ronald Wayne, in 2010, an article, they went and interviewed him. And they said, do you regret selling your 10% stake in Apple? And he said, I had no idea it would do what it did. But he said, I have no regrets. Notice why. He said, if I would not have sold it, it would have killed me. Folks, if you sell your eternal stock now, you'll live temporarily. And you may be living this life having fun for a short time. But if you invest it, just like Ronald Wayne, it will put you in the grave. You will die to your own selfishness and live for Him. But in the grave, you'll be in good company. Because Jesus laid down His life. And just as the Father honored Him and He was resurrected, the Father will honor a person, a believer, who lays down his life and invests in eternity. Revelation 22:12, the very end of Scripture, a verse that haunts me, to be honest. It's supposed to be hopeful. He says this, behold, I am coming soon. This is Jesus. Bringing my recompense or my rewards with me to repay everyone for what he's done. Jesus is coming soon, and those of us who have trusted Christ, there will be the Bema Seat judgment, the Bema Seat of Christ, where we'll come and our salvation will not be on the line. Everything has been paid for, but we will come to him. And this picture was presented to me, and I remember who it was. It's not original with me, but this picture was presented to me. That one day I will be there, and everything in my life will be piled high. Everything I ever used or invested, time, finances, family, whatever it was, it'll just be piled high. And in my mind, Jesus will come over with a match and he'll just light it on fire. And all of it will burn. And the only thing that will remain is eternal investment, gold, fine gold, for eternity. And here's my fear. That Jesus will take it and grab it and fashion it into a crown to give to me, and he'll give me that crown, and I'll put it on my pinky. Scripture says we're going to lay down our crowns. We're going to take those crowns and put them back at his feet. Saying, you're the one who's worthy. I'm not keeping this crown, but I want so much more than a pinky crown. On that day to lay down before Christ and say, you are worthy of everything. What are you investing in for eternity unless the seed dies? In Revelation 21, it says that Jesus will wipe away every tear from our eyes. And we say, well, that means there's no crying in heaven. I think that means we will be crying, and he will wipe our tears. Because we'll have a picture of what we could have invested. Of what we could have taken that $800 and made $63 billion. It starts in the heart. A believer who loves Christ will die to self and give him everything. Would you bow your heads this morning?